Welcome back to Flick Favorites. I'm going to explain a crime, comedy, thriller film from 2005, titled The Axe. Spoilers ahead. Enjoy the content. The main character, Bruno Davert, follows a man and attempts to shoot him in the beginning of the film. He is ready to have an accident since it is difficult to drive and shoot at the same time. When Bruno sees the man trying to cross the street, he rear-ends him. He dashes back to his hotel and trembles in terror. He cautiously takes a shower after washing his hands. He uses an audio recorder to capture his crime-related confession. Later, we discover more about Bruno, a scientist with experience, and how he came to be here. After 15 years of creating products, preserving money for shareholders, and working for a paper firm, 600 people were let go, including Bruno. The company's distributions to stockholders grew by 16% as a consequence. He continues to be jobless after 2 years and discovers Arcadia as an employer who could take him on. He cannot join Arcadia, the only thriving business in his sector. He devises a strategy to defeat the opposition. He places a fake job posting in the newspaper for the type of position he would apply for. After some time, he returns to find that he has amassed a large number of resumes. He reviews the resumes at home and discovers 5 very qualified individuals with a wealth of professional experience and outstanding academic credentials. He is compared to another guy who is middle-aged, balding, and little overweight but who constantly smiles and exudes success. In order to end the competition, he chooses to reject these 5 contenders. His wife Marlene makes an effort to be as encouraging as she can. Maxime and Betty, their adolescent children, notice that some items are missing, including TV, because she works 2 part-time jobs that don't pay all the costs. The household also had to sell one of the automobiles. Bruno worries that one day he may make a move on Marlene because of his envy of her cheerful employer. Bruno descends to the basement, where he discovers some artifacts from his father's World War II service. He acquires a firearm and ammo, then practices shooting in the nearby woods. He's not accustomed to shooting, so every time he does, his shoulder aches. On the day of the hunt, he decides to go for a Belgian guy as his first quarry. He informs his spouse that he will be attending a job interview. He pulls over for gas on the way and arrives to rob the gas station, but he later changes his mind. He then locates the man's residence and waits for him to collect the mail. When he comes out, he shoots him to death. Then Bruno turns around and chuckles. When he eventually gets home, Marlene observes that he is less relaxed than normal, which she blames to the fact that he hasn't been working. He attempts to divert the issue when she mentions that he has another person's resume. She says that her boss would bring her home after he drives his wife to work. Bruno quickly visits his second candidate but chooses to come back the next day when the letter is delivered. He learns he has been invited to a job interview when he gets home. He visits the workplace, but he is no longer the same man he once was, and he is unable to grin like the other applicants can. The HR manager, Iris Thompson, asks him probing questions. When Bruno realizes he has blown all of his chances of landing the job, he gets arrogant and admits how he really feels. He informs his wife that the interview went poorly when he gets home, and she encourages him to keep trying. The following morning, Bruno comes back to carry out his murderous scheme. When he gets to the home of the second candidate, someone spots him and shouts at him to leave. The paranoid lady enters the vehicle and locates the firearm. He simultaneously takes it when she reaches for it and accidentally pulls the trigger, killing her. Her husband, who was the intended target, hears the gunshot and goes into the garden to contact the police. When Bruno notices him, he shoots the man as he gets close. Following that, Bruno drives off and pulls over to the side of the road to cool off. He greets his wife as he gets home. After everything he went through today, he goes to take a shower to relax. The family learns the next morning that the deaths have become a major news story. A stalker who was dating the murdered man's daughter is detained as a suspect. Bruno feels compelled to give up after making amends because he cannot make an innocent guy pay for his sins. But in actuality, the culprit abruptly leaps from the window. Bruno claims that if the neurotic lady who meddled had not been present, everything would have gone according to plan and blames her for everything. He then chooses to go on to the following contender, Etienne Barnett, in order to carry out his strategy. He discovers him escorting his family out of the house. There are too many people nearby who may see him, therefore it is not a suitable moment to murder. Bruno thus drives to a little diner after Etienne does so in his automobile. He learns that Etienne is a chef who is attempting to return to the paper business. The two discuss their careers and how they abruptly came to an end. Once he quits his work, Bruno tries to murder him but cannot wait till the perfect time. In the first scene of the movie, he finally runs him over. Bruno discovers his automobile is totaled as soon as he leaves the motel the next morning. Then he realizes that he left the pistol and the confession audio recorder in the hotel. He goes back to get his things, and thankfully the maid has not yet discovered anything. He had to take the automobile to the shop for repairs or the cops will start to suspect him. He decides to have an accident on the way so he can justify his behavior afterwards. Bruno is stopped by the police on his way to the workplace, and he is able to establish that the accident occurred in the automobile. The officers let him leave after looking through his paperwork. He drives his wife home after visiting her at work. The two talk about their financial condition in the vehicle, and he makes a commitment to get work and make things right. Later, he visits the repair business. Then Marlene urges that they speak with Quinlan Longus, a marriage counselor, for assistance. According to the expert, Bruno needs to communicate his wrath, danger, and sadness. If he makes a small change in his conduct, Marlene, he claims, would support him through thick and thin. Currently going insane, Bruno believes his wife is having an affair with the marital counselor, but this is all in his imagination. Later, he visits a restaurant and begins following the next person on his list. He follows the candidate home but finds him with his wife. After watching her leave the house, Bruno follows in the automobile. Bruno prepares to shoot when they halt at a crossroads, but someone riding a motorbike arrives. He keeps pursuing the victim until they reach a shop. He can't get him inside to kill him, so he waits for him in the car. After the victim gets out, Bruno shoots him and locks him in the trunk of his car. It's not apparent to Bruno when he wakes up in his living room if all that happened was genuine or just a dream. He learns that evening that his son Maxime has been detained for stealing video games and DVDs. They contend that since this was a first for Maxime, they need to only issue a warning. Later, after his release, the parents ask their daughter Betty to divulge the whereabouts of Maxime's stolen property when they get home. They eventually discover a second wall in his wardrobe. In order to have nothing to hide from the police when they come, Bruno discards 3 full trash bags filled with the stolen goods. The cops don't discover anything in Maxime's room when they arrive to search it. Thus, the youngster is able to get out of his predicament. Bruno talks to the expert about his feelings of incompleteness without a career at a subsequent appointment with the marriage therapist. A while later, a number of police officers arrive to interview Bruno regarding the slayings. It appears that the murderer only targets those who have a record similar to himself. When he pleads for protection at this point, the officer replies that there aren't enough people on duty to safeguard everyone who could be at risk from an unknown lunatic using an old pistol to murder workers in the paper business. The inspectors even make a suggestion that the killings may have been committed with antiquated World War II ammo, and that the pistol may explode at any time. Bruno discharges the weapon and the remaining ammunition into the river once the cops arrive. As he walks through the post office, he comes upon several candidate letters. He discovers Gerard Hutchinson, a fresh face among them, who is employed, which may be helpful in the job quest. Under the guise of a job interview, he calls Gerard to a restaurant, but when he finds he can't use a pistol, he grabs a kitchen knife instead. He watches Gerard leaving the restaurant the following day after a time and pursues him into a bus. Bruno attempts to murder him with his knife, but fails. He keeps after him inside a mall where Gerard works at a clothes shop. The guy informs Gerard that he must adjust to his new job position because he lost his job in the paper business 5 years ago as Gerard forces him to put on some outfits. Gerard also claims that a policeman informed him of a lunatic who is murdering employees in the paper business. The big knife that Bruno usually carries does not being used to murder him this time. Gerard is content with his current job and shows no sign of wanting to seek for jobs in the paper business, so he chooses to leave him alone. Bruno then breaks into Raymond Macheffer's house, his most recent victim. He can't murder him at that moment though since he comes to the house with a woman. The following night, Bruno makes another attempt to get into the home. He nods off while watching for Raymond to show up and has a dream in which he is already employed by Arcadia. Raymond jumps out of nowhere and confronts him with a revolver. But Raymond stands by his story that the man came in to inquire about working for Arcadia and that the door was shut. After looking through his identification, Raymond suggests they enjoy a drink together. As a result of the outsourcing of some jobs, Raymond is concerned he may lose his job. Bruno turns on the gas when he is fully asleep in the hopes that he would suffocate. Later, while Bruno watches from his car, Raymond awakens. Fortunately for Bruno, his first action is to light a cigarette, which results in an explosion. Then, while awaiting a call from Arcadia, Bruno practices at home. Last but not least, and Futterman from Arcadia sends him an email and requests a reply within a day. Bruno receives a visit from a policeman as he gets ready for his interview, telling him that Gerard has died by suicide. The police want Bruno to know that he is no longer in danger since they think Gerard killed all the employees at the paper plant. At the Arcadia interview, Bruno is now eating supper. A stylish woman walks in and takes a seat at the bar. She gives him a cold, menacing look as if she wants to murder him, just like Bruno did to the other applicants. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to stay updated on future videos. Leave a like to support the channel.